What do you tell voters who are new to the process who says this makes them feel like it's all rigged?
As of early May 2016, the presidential race has come down to 3 candidates. The 2 major political parties are the Democrats and the Republicans. Every 4 years, each of the 50 states holds either a caucus or a primary in which voters choose which person they want to represent their party as president. Republican voters decide on Republican candidates. Democratic voters decide on Democratic candidates. In 2016, 14 states held caucuses, and the other 36 states held a primary. Caucuses have voters vote at local party meetings and vote by raising their hands or breaking up into groups. Primaries have voters vote by secret ballot. To become the Republican nominee, a candidate needs 1,237 delegates to win the Republican nomination. To become the Democratic nominee, a candidate needs 2,383 delegates to win the Democratic nomination. The news media reports when a candidate has won or lost a state, but the important thing to look at is by how much a person won or lost. On February 1, 2016, Bernie Sanders lost the Iowa caucus to Hillary Clinton. The delegates for each state are split based on the percentage of votes per candidate. So in Iowa, based on voter percentages, Hillary was awarded 23 of Iowa's 44 delegates, and Bernie won 21 of the remaining 44. These delegate winnings are then called pledged delegates. The more votes a candidate wins per primary or caucus, the more pledged delegates they are awarded. Hillary won the South Carolina primary with 73.5% of the vote to Bernie Sanders' 26% of the vote. Hillary won 39 of South Carolina's pledged delegates. Bernie Sanders won 14 pledged delegates. Sanders won the Colorado caucus with 58.9% of the votes to Hillary Clinton's 40.4%. Sanders was awarded 38 of Colorado's 66 delegates, and Clinton was awarded the remaining 28 delegates from Colorado. Donald Trump no longer has any competition for the remaining states and is the presumptive Republican presidential nominee. Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders are the only ones competing for the Democratic nomination. Based on the cast votes in primaries and caucuses so far, Hillary Clinton has 1,683 pledged delegates. Bernie Sanders has 1,362. That's only a difference of 321 pledged delegates, with 9 more states and the District of Columbia still yet to vote. There are a total of 859 more delegates at stake for either candidate. Again, to become the Democratic presidential nominee, a candidate needs 2,383 pledged delegates. However, the majority of news networks and print journalists report that Hillary Clinton is beating Bernie Sanders with 2,205 combined delegates and superdelegates to Bernie Sanders, who has a combined count of 1,401. Who are the Democratic superdelegates? All 21 sitting Democratic governors, including the mayor of Washington, D.C., 47 senators, 193 congressmen and congresswomen, 212 national committeemen and committeewomen elected to represent their states, 75 at-large members who are usually donors, local party leaders and/or union leaders, and 20 distinguished party leaders, which includes current and former presidents and vice presidents, retired House and Senate Democratic leaders, and all past chairs of the Democratic National Committee. Here is where the Democrats of the American public feel like their vote doesn't count. To be clear, both Republicans and Democrats have superdelegates. The Republican superdelegates consist of 3 delegates per state, 1 state chairperson, and 2 district-level committee members. By Republican Party rules, these Republican superdelegates have to cast their vote based on who won the primary for that state. For example, Donald Trump won the primary in Florida against his Republican opponents, one of whom at the time was Republican Florida Senator Marco Rubio. The Republican superdelegates of Florida may have disagreed with Trump's policies or found it politically advantageous to side with Rubio because Rubio is a politician from their own state. Doing so may have garnered favor from Rubio in the future. However, the rules for Republican superdelegates forbade this type of action, obligating Republican superdelegates to vote according to the results of the primary elections held in that state. Simply put, Trump won Florida's Republican primary, so Trump wins Florida's Republican superdelegates. This is the representative of the will of the people. Democrats do not have these rules. There are approximately 713 Democratic superdelegates, and they can vote for any Democratic candidate they see fit to be president. Hillary Clinton has amassed a fortune in campaign contributions from wealthy donors. She will use this money to give to other Democratic superdelegates to make sure they win re-election. Simply put, Clinton is saying, if you support me now as a superdelegate, I will give you money to finance your re-election campaign.
I think what's important, and what I think the Clinton campaign has not been very good at explaining is this, and this is the truth. The overwhelming amount of money that we're raising, and it is a lot, but the overwhelming amount of the money that we're raising is not going to Hillary to run for president. It's going to the down ticket. It's going to the congressmen and senators to try to take back Congress. And the reason that's important, and the reason it's important to me, is because I'm a Democrat, so if you're a Republican, you're going to disagree, but we need to take the Senate back because we need to confirm a Supreme Court justice, because that fifth vote on the Supreme Court can overturn Citizens United and get this obscene, ridiculous amount of money out so I never have to do a fundraiser again. And that's why I'm doing it. I really like Bernie. I think what he's saying in this election is important if you're a Democrat, again, to have these conversations. I hope he stays in for the entire election. And if he were to win the nomination, I will do whatever I can, including, if asked, a fundraiser like this.
Bernie Sanders does not agree with using money in politics and has not made any open financial promises to other superdelegates. Some voters are frustrated because the majority of these superdelegates are choosing not to represent the people from their state, but rather their own opinion and quite possibly their own political biases and motivations.
Hillary Clinton lost to Bernie Sanders in New Hampshire by 22 percentage points, the biggest victory in a contested Democratic primary there since John F. Kennedy. But it looks as though Clinton and Sanders are leaving the granite state with the same number of delegates in their pockets because Clinton has the support of New Hampshire's superdelegates, these party insiders. What do you tell voters who are new to the process who says this makes them feel like it's all rigged?
Bernie Sanders won 64% of the Maine caucus on March 6th, but out of Maine's 5 superdelegates, only 1 is voting for Sanders. This has caused such an uproar among Maine citizens that as of May 5th, 2016, legislation has just been put forth in Maine to eliminate superdelegates in the state.
And then you got superdelegates who are in states where we win by 40 or 50 points. I think their own constituents are going to say to them, hey, why don't you support the people of our state, vote for Sanders.
This has not been an isolated incident. Congressman Jared Polis of Colorado is a superdelegate who plans to vote for Clinton, although Sanders won Colorado by an overwhelming majority. Petitions have sprung up to end the superdelegate system, and websites containing superdelegates' contact information have been posted, with Sanders supporters attempting to persuade their elected representatives from states that Sanders won to represent their vote. Sanders supporters are also attempting to sway Hillary supporters of states she has won. Superdelegates make up about 15% of total convention delegates. At this rate, neither Clinton nor Sanders will win the Democratic presidential nomination in pledged delegates. It will come down to how superdelegates vote.
But because Clinton has the backing of 7 of Iowa's 8 superdelegates, she gets to that total of 29.
What has further frustrated voters is that these superdelegates are counted nightly in the news media, giving the American public the impression that Hillary Clinton is less than 200 delegates away from clinching the Democratic presidential nomination. Doing this influences voters of future primaries and caucuses with the belief that a vote for Sanders is a wasted vote because Hillary is too close to winning. However, these superdelegates do not vote until the Democratic National Convention in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, held between July 25th through July 28th, 2016. Until this late date in July, Democratic superdelegates can switch their votes at any time.
Let me show for everybody at home the impact of superdelegates on the Democratic nomination. This is really significant. So where are we now? 2218 for her, 1444 for him. Go to the next slide, which shows without superdelegates, it's really a 300 delegate difference. So this is determining thus far really the outcome of this thing.
The media broadcasts who these delegates will vote for based on public endorsements that some superdelegates have made before most states held any primary or caucus. Some superdelegates have not publicly endorsed either candidate as of yet, including Senator Elizabeth Warren from Massachusetts or Barack Obama. Vice President Joe Biden, another superdelegate, has not publicly endorsed Bernie Sanders, but has stated he'll take the Sanders aspirational approach over Clinton's cautious approach any day. Biden said, "I don't think any Democrats ever won saying, 'We can't think that big. We ought to downsize here because it's not realistic.' I like the idea of saying, 'We can do much more because we can.'" Another point of contention in the race for presidency is whether primaries should be closed or open. A closed primary is a contest that allows only registered Republicans or Democrats to vote. People registered as independent are allowed to vote in the general election in November between the Republican nominee and the Democratic nominee, but are not allowed to vote to decide who the nominee will be for either the Republican Party or the Democratic Party. An open primary or caucus means that independents can vote for either the Republican nominee or the Democratic nominee. Of the 10 remaining contests in the United States, only 2 are open for Democrats. California, with 475 delegates at stake, is an open state only to Republicans. At this rate, mathematically, there will not be a clear winner of the Democratic Party from pledged delegates, which means superdelegates will decide who the next Democratic presidential nominee will be. This will force both Sanders and Clinton to plead their case to the gathered superdelegates at the Democratic National Convention. According to The Nation, in January, Democratic National Committee Chair Debbie Wasserman Schultz appointed a pair of Clinton allies, Connecticut Governor Dannel Malloy and former Atlanta Mayor Shirley Franklin, to head the platform committee, and an ardent Clinton supporter and noted Sanders antagonist, former Congressman Barney Frank, will co-chair the Rules Committee. Superdelegates were not created by our founding fathers. They were created in 1984 when the Democratic Party was looking for candidates who were more likely to win general elections. According to recent polls, Bernie Sanders is more likely to win the general election for president. Furthermore, Sanders supporters are hoping that between now and the convention, the FBI will have reached a conclusion on Hillary Clinton's email scandal that will favorably sway superdelegates to support Bernie Sanders as the nominee. Donald Trump, racking up one victory after another without a Republican opponent, also faces challenges within the Republican Party, some of whom are saying they will not go to the convention if Trump is going to be the Republican presidential nominee. The Republican convention is July 18th through the 21st, 2016 in Cleveland, Ohio. Whatever happens, this summer will be one to remember.
All those opposed say no? No! The ayes have it.